Join me in prayer. Let us pray, Almighty God, giver of all victory. We thank Thee for the opportunities which abide in our land, for Thy guidance in the hour of peril and Thy tender love in times of need. Help us to remember with reverence the valor and devotion of our departed comrades, not only those whose bodies consecrate our country's soil, but also those who sleep beyond the seas and those whose final resting places will not be known until that last day when the deep will give up its dead. O God, teach us to honor them by ever cherishing the ideals for which they fought. Keep us steadfast in the cause of human rights and liberties, of law and order, and true Americanism. Give us the power to see and the will to do the right. Grant that the American Legion may preserve the high ideal for which our comrades died. May Thy merciful blessing rest upon those they left behind. Keep us forever firm in righteousness, humble of heart, and unselfish in purpose. Amen.
Remember, if there were for the people that would like to rise, we'll still have the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Someone have the flowers to lay out. Just put them down there, right? These flowers may wither, but the Spirit, which they are the symbol, will endure forever, for the end of time. Thank you. Today with us for our Memorial Day address, we have Jason Joe from the Bondurant Christian Church, which will give us a short
Short. Can you all hear me better with this?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, good. All right. Well, good morning. It's great to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me to speak. It's always good to be here with you all today. I was kind of looking around, doing some research on what I might say today, and I came across this website, echristianquotes.com, that had a lot of really neat Memorial Day quotes and different sayings, and so I couldn't resist, so I printed a few up. If you'd like to take one of these after the service, you're more than welcome to. There's just a lot of good things on there. When Roovart asked me to speak at this about a week ago, he said, "Oh, don't worry about length. You know, talk as long as you want. We'll be here all day if you want to." Just kidding. Actually, he said, "You got to watch out for the guy that doesn't have the rifle but has the sidearm." But then I thought that was probably all right. So no, it'll be nice and short. As a pastor, I get to do a lot of public speaking, but this type of event is always a little bit different because I feel so inadequately prepared and equipped for this kind of thing. I've never been in the military myself. I've never gone to basic training or been issued a sidearm or been deployed. So to a certain degree, I always feel a little bit inadequate to speak to such an event like this, having never served my country in the way many of you have. But at the same time, I hope to honor with my words the sacred traditions of our country and of Memorial Day and those who are no longer here with us. In my life, I have learned that there are two sides to every coin. Two sides to every situation in life. You know, a lot of times we run into conflict in our lives. You have a problem or something comes up, and there are definitely two sides to it. There's heads and there's tails on a quarter. If Leonard and I have a problem and somebody comes in to try and help us with it, you know, they're going to talk to Leonard and say, you know, here's the way you see it, Leonard. Here's the way I see it. Here's the way you see the problem, and here's the way I see the problem. Two sides to every coin. Two sides to every problem in life. Two sides to every situation in life. The word, I don't know why, but the word conservative kind of pops into my mind when I think about holidays and traditions and times sort of set apart to do with whatever you want to do. To me, the word conservative has two sides to it. On the one hand, there can be a little bit conservative makes you feel a little bit constrictive and stiff and rigid and requiring a certain amount of conformity to the way we've always done it. That's the way we've always done it, isn't it? And you got to stick to the traditions and the way we've always done it. New ideas can be quick to be stifled. Energy for new thoughts or new approaches get quickly nipped in the bud. And so conservative can have a certain restrictiveness to it that's not always comfortable. But then again, on the other side, I think there's a lot of positive aspects to the word conservative. There's a lot of worth and a lot of value in it because it helps you to hold on to the things that matter most. It helps you to keep a grasp on the things that make you what you are. To be conservative means to help you preserve the essence. It means to sort of, really at its root, to conserve what it is that makes something what it is. To hold on to the essence of something so you don't become something that you're not. You hold on to what it is, you hold on to sort of your core values and your practices, the things that you don't want to let go of without becoming something different, without losing who you are, what something means. And by the same token, I think there are two different sides, or two different ways people practice or live out Memorial Day. On the one hand, there's a lot of people who just enjoy it purely as a holiday. Time off from work, out of the routine of normal life. Time off from school, and just, you get to have extra time off and you get out the grill and grill some ribs, or just time out of the routine of life. And if that's all it is, that's not that there's anything wrong with just enjoying time off with family and friends and that sort of thing. But if that's all it is, I think we can miss out on the essence, on the deeper meanings of what Memorial Day is. I think there's something more meaningful behind it too. I think on the flip side, the other side of the coin, is that Memorial Day is this opportunity to remember a lot of things in life. Remember things that are important. Remember those who have gone before us. Remember those who have died in service of our country. Remember all the heroes of our country, so that we might experience freedom. And I think that is the deeper sense of Memorial Day. So on this Memorial Day, on this Memorial Day weekend, I hope that you've all been able to enjoy both sides of that coin. I hope you've been able to enjoy time set apart, time with family and with good friends, but that you've also been able to have time remembering those who are no longer here with us, honoring their memories and those who've gone before us. I hope you get to enjoy both sides of the coin. There's a story that sums all of this up very well, told by the American Legion. They had a speech that they had written out. Leonard dropped it off at the church and said, "Here, this is pretty good." And I actually just found it too, and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. So there's a story, a true story, about a boy named Miles Eckert. And Miles was so very excited because he was with his family on a Memorial Day weekend, and they were eating at the local Cracker Barrel. And Miles got out of the car and found a $20 bill in the parking lot. So, of course, doing what all good little boys would do, he picked it up and put it in his pocket and began to think, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this $20 bill? And so he was thinking about it while he ate his lunch with his family. And he thought, I'm going to buy a Lego video game for my Wii because that's just a lot of fun. And so he made all these plans to spend this money to buy a video game and whatever else he thought he could do. But then fate took him in a little bit different of a direction. He noticed that there was another family a couple tables away, and there was a man who was dressed in his Air National Guard uniform at a different table. And so Miles got out a Post-it note and a pen and began to write a note on this Post-it note. And he presented it to this man in the uniform, sitting, eating there with his family. This is what the note said. Dear soldier, my dad was a soldier, but he's in heaven now. I found this $20 bill in the parking lot when we got here, and we like to pay it forward in our family. And so today is your lucky day. Thank you for your service to our country. Sincerely, Miles Eckert, a Gold Star kid. The recipient of this note was Lieutenant Colonel Frank Daly. And when he got the note, he was just so incredibly moved. It's an incredible thing to be recognized in such a manner. He said later that he looks at that note every day of his life. Miles was only 4 weeks old. The little boy was only 4 weeks old when a roadside bomb in Iraq killed his father and Army Sergeant Andy Eckert in 2005. Andy was denied the opportunity to raise this exceptional young man, and we can imagine how proud he would have been of his son and his son's commitment to pay it forward. Well, on this Memorial Day weekend, on this Memorial Day today, we remember those who are no longer with us because they have sacrificed their lives in the defense of our freedom. These sacrifices have occurred not just recently, but all throughout our nation's history. Today we remember our loved ones who are no longer with us. We remember our loved ones who now rest from their labors. As Americans, part of our job is to remember that freedom is never free. And in fact, freedom is only possible because our fallen heroes have paid its high price. And that's why we are here. That's why we're here today. And so let's remember. Let's remember to pay it forward. So may you have a blessed Memorial Day, a blessed Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy both sides of the coin of time off from work and time with your family and friends, but time spent remembering our loved ones no longer with us. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, as we normally do, we will read the names of our veterans from Bondurant and also veterans that are buried in the Bondurant Cemetery who were members of our Legion post. So it's kind of a combination of both. I thought about doing this a couple different ways, but I even practiced putting it on my computer and having the computer play all the names. But I got chicken to do that. So I will go ahead and do this. First time I've ever done it, so you have to bear with me. And once again, if I've left any names off or anything like that, please see us after the program, and we'll make sure those names get added to our list. So with that, we'll start out with the Spanish-American War. Buried in the Bondurant Cemetery is Edwin Adams and Andrew Harton. Civil War, Isaac Bruner, C.M. Cummages, Samuel B. Haynes, E.P. Hall, W.T. Hudson, Isaac R. Palmer, J.H. Shackelford, W.T. Wright. World War I, John L. Anderson, Carl Barrett, Walter Bemis, Ray Brand, Ray Bridge, Wallace C. Boswell, Lester Cooley, William Crawford, Claude Critchlow, Lester Fusion, Gerben Haynes, Marcus W. Ingo, Raymond Lansing, Harry Light, Fred Linkenfelder, Claude McIntosh, Leroy F. Miller, Cleo Payne, Herman Partridge, Herbert Piper, Leonard Pope, Bert Carl Reese, Ward Robinson, John Russell Robinson, S.O. Sanford, Ray Scott, Isaac Shawhead, Otto Stahl, Lawrence Stahl, B. H. Williams. World War II members that are buried in California, Nellie McIntosh. In France, Samuel H. Bridge. In Glendale Cemetery, Leo Flannery. In Nevada, Joe Schmay. World War II veterans in Bondurant, William G. Anderson, Lyle Beamisdorfer, Lauren Byers, William David Clark, Homer Cummages, Howard Casper, Francis Cox, James B. Crawford, Warren Crum, Wayne Cunningham, Vern Dvorak, Leonard Eric Erickson, Malcolm Freeland, Leo Fuller, Harold Ginther, Addison Gormley, Leo Graffune, James H. Haynes, James G. Haynes Jr., Robert Hall, Roger Harris, Donald Haug, Jim Hay, Harry Horman, Edwin Engel, Thomas Eismaker, Harold Hubert E. Johnson, Boyd Jones, Elton Justice, Robert Koyman, Robert Lewis, John D. Long, Richard D. Long, Melvin McGinnis, Donald McIntosh, Joe McIntosh, Donald Mendenhall, Lauren Meisner, James D. Morgan, Winford Darrell Morton, Glenn Pearson, Carl Pettijohn, Raymond Pettijohn, Lester Pope, Robert A. Reese, Norman Reek, Lester H. Rosberg, Ray Runyon, Ivan Runyon, Walter Stamford, Frank L. Scott, Donald Scudley, Isabel Terrell, Eddie Winetta, Vincent White, Clarence White, Leroy White, Robert Wilson. Buried in the Altoona Cemetery is James Hanlon, Kendall Mao, Robert Rosberg, in Ankeny, Norman Maxwell, in Berwick, Ralph Silver, in California, Carol McIntosh, Corey Grove, Herschel Coleman, Council Bluffs, Donald Gaffey, Highland Park, Dwayne Hall, Helen Tissue, Clifford Tissue, Melvin Van Dyke, in Newton, Bernard Valentine, in San Diego, Andrew Collins, Ray Engel, Joe Phillips, Bill Sigmund, Francis Thompson, Ian Seymour, Glenn Allen, in Warren County, John Mishner, and we have one member, Joe Lavia, who we're unsure of where he's buried at. The Korean War, Robert Babb, Gerald Brown, Kenneth D. Berg, William F. Frakes Jr., Rudy Halderman, Dave Haney, Robert L. Hood, Richmond H. Long, Edwin McIntosh, Lloyd Miller, Arnold Palm, Dale Reno, Marvin Rosberg, Robert Ugolini, Richard Williams, buried in Altoona, John Fry and Dean Fullerton in Ankeny, Roger Wyckoff in Corey Grove, Bill Gallagher and Ron Ham, Des Moines, Richard Phoenix and Ted Shaw, in Elm Grove, Bob Miller, Highland Park, Robert Roche, Holy Cross, Ron Ham, Lauren in Loring, Richard Webb, Merle Hay, William Sprague, Rising Sun, Ralph Woodard, San Diego, Robert Blee, Vietnam veterans in Bondurant, James Beardsley, Galen Debovic, Lewis Craig White, Andy Young in Fort Leonard Wood, David Pearson in San Diego, Matt Shanks in Seattle, Washington, Patrick Jones in Wichita Falls, Kansas, Rodney Haynes, and for the Grenada conflict in Bondurant, Kevin Vaughn. Because we are not going to Berwick, I think what I'll try to do is go through and read the Berwick residents also that are buried in the Berwick Cemetery. So in the Berwick Spanish-American War in Berwick was Duke Davis, Civil War, Henry C. Clay, Stephen Clendenin, Jesse Fillmore, Whitmore Gardner, James Holt, James Lane, Henry Manbeck, Hezekiah Patterson, World War I, Frank Gale Arthur Jr., Howard Beard, Merle Bean, Victor Bird, Merle Vogue, Amos Burke, Howard Harold G. Chambers, Stanton Clay, Claire Cross, Floyd Cross, William Cunningham, Eddie De La Sorda, Ward Howard, Ilo B. Mendenhall, Howard Mercer, Aban Lee Nelson, Glenn Reeves, Emily Reeves, Jesse Tallarday, Forrest Yoders. Elsewheres in Berwick, Aaron Hughes and George Keyes. World War II in Berwick, Bruce Armentrout, George Artley, Joseph Barnes, James Burkholder, Clifford Burkholder, Taylor Campbell, Glenn Frank Chambers, William Christian, Richard Collette, Wilbur Cunningham, John Wilbur Davis, Will Deal, Ralph Ebersol, Norman Fuller, Charles Griffin, Lauren Grunstead, George Haney, Donald Ingerbritson, Dennis Jaquette, Wilbur Johnson, Dan Justice, Claude Kingery, Gerald Knight, William Lane Jr., Ray Langland, Clement Loth, Harry Main, Clarence Maston, Earl McConnell, John Reeves Mercer, Orville Miller, Archie Ellis Orr, Barton Patton, John Price, Ralph C. Prevey Jr., Delbert Prussia, Lyle Pryor, Glenn Shepard, Ralph Silver, Roy Silver, Burton H. Smith, Edwin Sprague, Paul Steele, Clarence Statterley, Roland Strain, Kenneth Tenerelli, Robert Tenerelli, John Thornton, Lawrence Walden, Lewis Weaver, John Allen Weaver, Dale T. Williams, Dick Young, Carl Zook. Elsewheres is Carl Grinstead and James Harper. The Korean War, Norman Cave, Frank Davidson, Decker Davis, Virginia Chandler Fran, Robert Haug, Russell Hanson, David C. Malley, Charles Mix, Junior Patterson, Ronald Price, Joe Quinn, Paul Silver, Lauren Slabraw, Richard Wolf, and Rising Sun, Philip Griggs, Vietnam veterans in Berwick, Edwin Claremont, Richard McCain, John C. Reed, and David Weaver. Once again, if I missed someone, please get with us after the program so we can get those names added to the list. So with that, we will now have a benedict, our chaplain, and then we'll have our firing squad and taps.
Please join with me in benediction prayer. The cemeteries have become their bivouac area. The cold and silent stone or bronze whispers the name of one who sleeps beneath the little green sod. As the gentle breezes kisses our cheeks and awakens our silent and united tongues, we pledge anew the flame of valor, love, and honor shall never be expunged. Thank you.
Jeez.